Gapland. My name is Michael Grellia. Today is Friday, July 29th, and this is episode 69 of syngap.fund. I'm doing this for a while. I'm so excited. Yesterday, we shared news of our second collaborative grant. Our first collaborative grant was just recently at the beginning of July. We gave a grant to the Courtney Lab for Missense. I talked about that a lot in episode 66. Episode 66 was pretty good. Go check it out on YouTube. Links in the show notes. You can also always Google hashtag S10E66, which is what I'm starting to put in these things so you can find them easily. Go check it out on YouTube. Make sure you like it and subscribe to YouTube. But this is about the Bowie Grant. So in the show notes, I will share a link to the press release and the Facebook and the Twitter and the LinkedIn. Give us some love on all of those. But I'm really excited about this grant, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why this grant is super cool. Super cool. In addition to being our second collaborative grant in a row. First of all, I want to emphasize one point. We have a lot of requests right now. The amount of opportunities that SRF has to accelerate SYNGAP research is significantly greater than our available financial resources. So we got a lot going on. It's not like we're funding things that like, oh, thank God there's something to do, let's fund it. No. We're constantly doing a triage right now, and we're looking forward to an SAB review in September to go over a number of really exciting opportunities that have come in. This one is really special, and I want to tell you guys about why I'm excited about it. So first of all, it's quality and it's focused. That's why we said yes, right? I got to tell you the story about Professor Bowie and how we met him. So I got this email in February from this guy, and he's like, hey, would you consider a grant for me? And I was like, sure, send us a proposal. So he sends me a 2-pager, and I was like, dude, really? 2 pages? Like, people are sending us like 20-page proposals that look like papers. Like, they've really thought about stuff, and you're like, here's 2 pages. You should give me some money to test this idea, and I'm not even telling you what the idea is. Come on. And he's like, calls us back. He's like, no. This is real. You got to look at this. I'm like, well, okay, tell me about it. He's like, well, I can't because, I'm working with la. So it's all sort of top secret. And we're like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you money because you're a nice guy. And he said, okay, fine. So he calls his lawyers send us a bunch of things. There's a lot of back and forth on paperwork and signing NDAs. We sign the NDAs and we finally get a meeting with this guy. He sits down and he shows us what he's working on. And it was a lot of members of the SRF board in there. And we were sitting there and we were listening. We were like, whoa, this is cool. We should fund this. And so we did. And so that's part one of the story. And I'm, because of all the NDAs and because of a lot of the complexity about this that makes it exciting, I'm going to read you verbatim from the press release. So I don't say anything I'm not supposed to say. And this press release, let me assure you, was reviewed and approved by McGill multiple times. Prof. Bowie believes that by correcting targets downstream of these synapses, a specific combination therapy can result in a common improvement of the ID phenotype. This grant will support his lab in investigating blah, 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 to test our idea of using a small molecule approach to target the molecular pathways giving rise to intellectual disability. Let's unpack that because there's a lot in those words. A specific combination therapy means, combination means more than one, and a specific means he's actually got a molecule, right? So he's got something that he thinks will have an impact on SYNGAP1. It's combination therapy. I can't say more about it. Later in those texts, we saw a small molecule. So we're not dealing with a genetic therapy. We're not dealing with ASOs or AIVs. We're dealing with an existing small molecule that he wants to try in combination. What that means to us and why small molecules are exciting is that if it's FDA approved, that means we could, if this work works, we could get this in kids soon. Soon meaning he does this work in mice, he licenses it to some company, and then boom, we're doing a clinical trial. So in the time frame of drug development, this could happen really fast, and he's got something specific in mind. Result in a common improvement in the ID phenotype. What does that mean? It means he's going after intellectual disability. Go ahead, open your medicine cabinet. I give my son drugs for epilepsy. I give him drugs for anxiety. I give him drugs to make him go to sleep. I give him drugs for GI issues. I don't give him anything to make him smarter. Smarter is probably the wrong word. To address his intellectual disability. Maybe that's a better way to say it. I'm not aware of a therapy for that. And yet, Professor Bowie thinks that he has identified a molecular pathway that gives rise to this intellectual disability. So what if Professor Bowie has found something in the brain that as a result of SYNGAP causes the ID, and he can go in and he can address that with a combination small molecule therapy? What if that's possible? What if we're 1 year away from having data in mice that convinces someone to license that drug and to test it in humans. Shouldn't we fund that? Yeah, we should fund that. We are fortunate that someone of Professor Bowie, and he's a high caliber guy. We did check him out. He's a glutamatergic neuron expert. And he's excited to work on SYNGAP, but we just got to fund the year of work, and then, he'll take it from there. Pretty exciting, super exciting. That's why we said yes. Please trust me, we did a lot of diligence on this one. And I wish I could tell you more, I can't, but it's exciting. Second major point why I'm so thrilled about this is a global collaboration, right? So when this came up, since it was in Canada, I called Solène and Domitil, who run Overcome. Overcome is a French and a Canadian organization that looks at SYNGAP. And I said, hey, you guys, looks like we might do this grant in Canada. I really want to do it with you. I want to work together in Canada. And they're like, great, let's do it. And they came to the meeting and they were like, wow, that is cool. We should fund that. And they put some money in there. But better than that, they are a registered charity in Canada for SYNGAP. We are a registered charity for SYNGAP we have an EU registration out of the Netherlands. We're getting registered in Latin America and Colombia right now. And of course, we're registered in the United States. So the advantage of being a registered charity is you can give tax receipts. People can get a tax break when they give you money. And in the past, when our Canadian families have gotten excited about what's going on, they're like, Mike, I want to give you guys money, but I don't get a tax break. So what do we do? And we thought about that. I'm like, we should just work with Overcome. So for this specific grant for Bowie, there is a link, syngap.fund/Bowie, where in the US you can give money and that money will go directly to this grant. And now there's a link in Canada, syngap.fund/Overcome, which goes to their donor box or whatever platform they use. And you can give money and get a tax receipt and support this grant by making a donation in Canada for work in Canada. So the Canadian families should be really excited about this. This is a global collaboration, right? Anyone can be like, oh, we collaborate and put 5 logos on their website. Whatever, that costs nothing. When you start writing checks for cold hard cash and funding work together, that to my mind is real collaboration, where you put your money where your mouth is. And that's what you're seeing right now. You're seeing us, Overcome Canada, and then wonderfully, Sarah Webster in Australia, who's a mom in Australia, her child was diagnosed. She did this wonderful event, raised some money, and she said, guys, help me figure out we know what to support. And we're like, please support this. Remember my first point, we are making trade-offs right now, right? So every dollar we give to the Bowie Grant is money we can't give to the other exciting things we've got coming on. The Bowie Grant was so time sensitive and so compelling that we were like, all right, let's fund this. But there's other things now that we now need to raise money for. And essentially, the reason we're raising money for this grant that we've announced is we need to believe that the community is going to throw some money behind this so that we can support this without depriving future grants of the support we'd like to give to them. Long story short, this is an exciting grant. We're thrilled about it. Please, if you're in Canada or the US, there are links. Support this work with a donation. Share this link to your friends. For the Americans, syngap.fund/Bowie. For the Canadians, syngap.fund/Overcome. This is Canadian dollars that will get a Canadian tax receipt that will go to support work in Canada or Canada, however you say it. Support the work. It's incredible. And then number 4, just to zoom out for a hot minute, I want to take you back to 4.5 years ago when Ashley and I got Tony's diagnosis and we decided to raise some money and create SRF. Before we knew where this would go and how much more complicated it would get. And we went to the usual suspects, right? There are a handful of researchers in the US funding work, and we gave them some support to do some things that in some cases were pretty well specified, and in some cases obviously weren't well specified enough. And I would say one of those grants, I'm kind of like, it wasn't a good call. There's no paper that's come out of that, and kind of wish we hadn't done it. Luckily, that was my own money, and it's gone now, so we can move on. But the bar's a lot higher today. I would never have funded some of those with the processes and what we do today. And you as families wanting to support your child and invest in your child's better future don't have those hard choices in front of you right now. Because the SYNGAP Research Fund, Pavel and Hans and Marta and JR and RSA and all the different things that are involved in us giving grants have managed to be able to identify grants, be able to discern if those grants will or won't have a meaningful impact in our kids' lives, and be able to marshal resources across the globe now to make sure those things happen as fast as possible. That's really exciting. I wish that had been around when I started 4 years ago. And I'm not looking for a pat on the back here. I just want families to know and understand that this is exciting. right? You now have a chance. If you're looking at your loved one and you're like, what's their future going to be like? What's my future going to be like? What are their siblings going to have to deal with? Stop worrying. It's not healthy. What's healthy is doing something. And right now you can do something, especially if you're in the US or Canada or anywhere there's a SYNGAP organization. But specifically for this grant, you can invest in this grant, raise some money, help us support Professor Bowie in his lab, help us get this work done as fast as possible. Maybe maybe this could result in a therapy that we could put into our children soon. By soon, I mean like 1 or 2 years. That would improve their intellectual capacity. It's a mind-blowing thought, and it's an exciting thought. And I'm grateful to Professor Bowie for bringing this opportunity and for knocking on our door after sending us that admittedly somewhat brief initial proposal and convincing us to do this work. I'm glad we're doing it. Look in the show notes, links to the fundraisers, links to all the events coming up in the weeks ahead. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend.